If you want God's blessing in your life, how many of you want God's blessing? Yeah, I mean, all of us do, don't we? If you want God's blessing, you have to care about what God cares about. Does that make sense? I mean, try to figure out, what does God care about the most? I mean, read the Bible. Try to figure out, what does God care about the most? And when I read the Bible, what I see that God cares about most, now listen to this. This is what he cares about. He cares about people. He cares so much about people that he sent his son, Jesus Christ, to die on the cross. For your friends, for your neighbors, for your co-workers, for your family, and for you, for me. That's how much Jesus cares. John chapter 3, verse 16 says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life." This is how much God cares about us. The question is, how much do you care? How much do I care? How much do we care about the people around us, in our world, beyond our world, or in the world today? How much do we really care? Do we know somebody who hasn't accepted Christ? Do we know somebody that isn't a part of this church? Do we know somebody that isn't really serious about their relationship with God? Do you care about that at all? What is this? I know it's hard to understand because we don't see them anymore. It's a newspaper. That's what this is. It's a newspaper. You know, there was a time when you could go down and buy a newspaper and it'd tell you just about everything you wanted to know that was going on. In fact, beyond when we didn't have phones, cell phones, when we didn't have computers, when there was no television, when there was no radio, when there was no other form of communication, guess what this was? This was how people found out all about news that was going on in the world. This is what they went to. They went to the newspaper, and every town had one. It didn't make any difference how small, how big the town was. It might not have been a thick paper. It might have been just a one-sheet form that had information about what was going on in town, what was going on in the world some way, and this paper does the same thing. If you look through the different sections, it's got a local section. I don't know if you can see it or not. Do you see the picture? Do you know what that is? What is that? Do you know what that is? That's us. That's the Bridge Church. That's in the Press Enterprise. They came out, they did an article on the church when we were meeting over in the library. They wanted to know, what's this church all about? So people found out about the Bridge Church because of the newspaper. I mean, we had gone all over this city and every place. We did door to door. We did everything else trying to help people understand about, what we were here for. And the paper came out and said, let's do a news article about the Bridge Church. And it was favorable. It was good. So they have local news. And then they have your life. Your life. This is what life is all about. This is what's going on in people's lives, And then they've got another section. Of course, this is a section we always go to, the classified ads. And I think we had an advertisement in all the papers. We had advertisements in all of the radio stations and everything. This is what people would go to. Now, today the newspaper really isn't available in this form anymore. In fact, last night, Deborah and I, we went to 3 different locations here in town trying to find one. We couldn't find a newspaper. I thought I was going to have to do this illustration without a newspaper this morning, which I hated to have to do. So I went up in my closet and I thought, okay, maybe I've got some leftover papers from some of the times, with the bridge and all of that, and I found one. And sometimes, just the way the newspaper is today, you can't find one. That's kind of the way it is in some churches now. Because This is what God gives us for news, the Bible. And a lot of times you don't even hear churches preaching the Bible anymore. You know, in the olden days, even before I was born, they used to have people out on the streets with newspapers. They were called newsies. Did you know that? And they would go out on the street corner with their stack of newspapers, and they would start yelling, you know, hey, come and check out what's in the paper, you know, and they headlines or whatever. And they were called newsies. God says, I want you to be good newsies. Be a good newsie, somebody who takes the good news of the gospel about Jesus Christ that's found here in the Bible out to other people and share that with them. And as long as there's one person in this community that doesn't know Christ, I'm going to be constantly asking and preaching and teaching and encouraging all of us to try to reach that person. And I'm telling you, there's a lot more than one. You know, we've got a lot of churches here in this town. And we've got several mega churches in this town. But did you know that all of the churches combined only amount to about 10% of our entire population in Corona? All of the churches combined. And we've got like 2 or 3 mega churches in this town. And so we still got like 90% of the population that doesn't even go to church. And I don't know how many of those don't even know Christ. So we've got our work cut out for us, folks. We've got a lot of people all around us, in our world, beyond our world, and all over this world who need to hear the gospel message. Mark chapter 16 and verse 15, Jesus said to his followers, go everywhere in the world and tell the good news to who? Circle everywhere and everyone. Everywhere. Everyone needs to hear the gospel because everybody deserves to hear the good news.